As I stood in the cracked and faded welcome mat of my childhood home, the weight of years settling like a shroud over me, I couldn't shake the sense that Ravenshire had been waiting. The air was heavy with an unspoken promise: come back to where it all began, but be warned, some secrets never truly leave. My footsteps echoed through the empty halls as if I'd disturbed a long-held silence, and the creaks of the old wooden floorboards beneath my feet seemed to whisper warnings in a language only the house could understand. Still, I couldn't resist the siren call of familiarity, the comfort of knowing every nook and cranny by heart. The rooms that had once held laughter and tears now felt cold and impersonal, as if they'd been waiting for me to leave them alone for good. But I was back now, with a suitcase full of broken dreams and an uncertain future. And so I stepped inside, my eyes adjusting slowly to the dim light that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. I found solace in the diner's worn vinyl booths and the gentle hum of the espresso machine, a comforting melody that seemed to vibrate through every cell in my body. As I settled into the corner seat, the waitress with the unsettling gaze and wild tangles of curly hair appeared at my side, her eyes sparkling like moonlight on troubled waters. Lucy, she called herself, though there was something both familiar and alien about this woman's name. The scent of fresh coffee and yesterday's gossip clung to her like a worn shawl, drawing me in with an otherworldly allure. As I lay in bed, the darkness outside my window seemed to press in on me, like a physical presence. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a smell that always brought back memories of winter mornings spent walking through the woods behind our house. But today, it felt oppressive, suffocating. I tossed and turned, trying to shake off the feeling of unease that had been growing in my chest all day. It wasn't just the darkness outside, though it was certainly a part of it, but something more insidious, something that lurked just beneath the surface of my thoughts. My mind kept drifting back to Lucy's words, "It's not what you think it is." What did she mean? And why did her warning feel like a whispered secret in the dead of night, one that only I could hear? I stepped out of my car and onto the cracked asphalt of Elm Street, the familiar crunch of gravel beneath my feet a comforting sound. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the deserted street, as if the very houses themselves were trying to escape the light. I breathed in deeply, taking in the scent of damp earth and fresh-cut grass. It was the smell of home. I had been gone for so long, living in the city, chasing a career that seemed more important with every passing day. But now, with Lucy's words echoing in my mind, I felt an insistent tug to return to this place, to the woods, to Ravenswood. I shouldered my bag and set off down the sidewalk, the silence broken only by the sound of birds singing from the trees. They sounded off, too loud, too cheerful, as if they were trying to drown out some hidden hum. I quickened my pace, glancing over my shoulder at the houses. Their windows seemed to stare back at me, empty and unblinking. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves in a strange, almost menacing way. I could have sworn I heard a whisper, just a hint of it, but enough to make my skin prickle with unease. Whispers of something or someone. Whatever it was, it seemed to be watching me from just beyond the edge of town. I wake up to a morning that feels like any other, yet somehow doesn't. The sunlight streaming through the windows seems fainter than I'm used to, and the shadows on my skin look different, too darker, more defined. At first, I think it's just the lingering after effect of the strange dream I had last night, but as I sit up in bed, a wave of nausea washes over me. I try to shake off the feeling, attributing it to a side effect of my medication, but deep down, I know that's not it. The cuts and scars on my arms and legs, I've been keeping them hidden, afraid to confront what might be happening to me. They look different now too. As I wander through Ravenshire, the familiarity of my childhood home feels like a fragile veneer, a thin layer of comfort over a chasm of unease. Every step echoes with the whispers of the past, the townsfolk's hushed conversations about the earthborn thing that lurks beneath our edge. They say it was born from the very rocks that cradle us, forged in the darkness of the underworld. I never believed them, of course, not until now. The cuts and scars on my arms and legs seem to pulse with a life of their own, as if they're trying to convey some hidden message. The skin still feels raw, tender, but it's not just the physical pain that troubles me. It's the creeping sense that something is watching me. I try to shake off the feeling, telling myself it's just my imagination playing tricks on me. But the sensation lingers, a constant companion in the quiet of the night. I find myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see some shadowy figure lurking just out of sight. The trees seem to lean in closer as I walk, their branches tangling above my head like skeletal fingers. Every now and then, a faint rustle echoes through the leaves, the sound of twigs snapping, leaves crunching beneath unseen feet. It's as if the forest itself is trying to tell me something, but what and why? Days blend together in an endless haze of twilight and shadows, each one a reminder that I'm not alone. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a morbid perfume that clings to my skin like a shroud. I've begun to wonder if it's just the forest's way of warning me, a primal threat issued by some ancient, long-forgotten tongue. Every step feels like a betrayal, as if I'm treading on sacred ground. The trees seem to loom closer, their branches tangling together above me like skeletal fingers. I've started to notice little things, the direction in which leaves fall, the way the wind stirs the underbrush. It's all too calculated, too deliberate. It's as if whatever is watching me is studying me, weighing its options. The rustle of small creatures through the underbrush has taken on a menacing quality, like the soft crunching of feet on gravel. I've tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself it's just my imagination playing tricks, but the sensation persists, a crawling sense of unease that refuses to be still. Sometimes, in the quiet moments before nightfall, I swear I see things out of the corner of my eye, movements, flickers of shadow that vanish when I turn to look. It's always there, just out of reach, watching and waiting. I've spent countless hours trying to grasp the fragments of memories that linger in my mind, like wisps of smoke on a winter's breeze. But as I wander through Ravenshire's Edge, something about this place feels like an itch I just can't scratch. It's as if my very self is dissolving into the landscape, leaving behind only echoes of what once was. At night, when the trees creak and groan in the wind, I'm convinced that I see reflections of myself staring back at me from the windows of the old houses, eyes that aren't quite mine, skin that's just a little too pale. But whenever I turn to look, they vanish, leaving behind only the faintest whisper of a presence. It's an eerie sense of déjà vu, as if I've lived this moment before, even though I know I haven't. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves in a language that sounds almost like my own voice, whispering secrets I'm too afraid to listen to. As I walk, the trees seem to close in around me, their branches tangling above like skeletal fingers. The wind carries the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, heavy with the weight of forgotten secrets. I've been walking for what feels like hours, but the sun remains stuck at the edge of my vision, a constant reminder that time itself is unraveling before me. The villagers' warnings echo in my mind. They spoke of an old power stirring, one that fed on fear and hungered for destruction. But what kind of thing could possibly make them so afraid? I've always thought Ravenshire's Edge was a quiet, unassuming place, but now the air is thick with tension. The wind stirs, whispering names that sound like forgotten dreams. Asher, Elund, Male. They're not just names, they're reminders of lives lived long ago, of rituals performed in the dead of night when the world was hushed and still. I feel a shiver run down my spine as I catch glimpses of strange symbols etched into the bark of ancient trees. They seem to be watching me, their grooves pulsing with a malevolent energy that makes my skin crawl. And then I see it a clearing ahead, surrounded by a ring of mushrooms that glow like lanterns in the fading light. As I stepped into the clearing, the soft earth seemed to swallow my footprints, erasing all signs of my presence. The mushrooms, like sentinels of an ancient faith, stood watch over me, their gentle glow illuminating the contours of my face. Their ethereal light danced across the trees, weaving a hypnotic pattern that I couldn't help but follow. I felt an inexorable pull towards the ring, as if it was calling to something deep within me. The air seemed to thicken around me as I ventured deeper into Ravenshire's edge, the trees closing in like sentinels guarding a long-forgotten secret. I felt the weight of my own footsteps, the creaking of branches beneath my feet echoing through the stillness like a death knell. The sunlight filtering through the canopy above cast dappled shadows on the forest floor, making it seem as though the trees themselves were shifting and twisting in an unnatural dance. My breath came in short gasps, the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filling my nostrils like a noxious perfume. I had to push the feeling of unease aside, focus on the task at hand, uncovering the truth about Ravenshire's edge. The stillness that followed my discovery was oppressive, a physical weight pressing down upon me like a shroud. I felt it in the creaking of old wooden floorboards beneath my feet, as if the very foundations of the house were protesting my presence. My heart quickened with every step, pounding out a rhythm that threatened to drown out all other sound. The air vibrated with an almost imperceptible hum, like the reverberation of a whispered secret. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained upon me from the shadows. My skin crawled with gooseflesh as I climbed the narrow staircase, each step drawing me closer to whatever lay hidden in this place. I've been descending into the labyrinth of my own mind, and it's difficult to distinguish what's real from what's a product of my fevered imagination. Memories blur together like watercolors on wet paper, fragments of childhood afternoons spent exploring the overgrown gardens of Ravenshire's edge, laughter with friends that feels more like a distant echo, snapshots of my parents' arguing voices, muffled and indistinct, yet still capable of sending shivers down my spine. The lines between past and present begin to blur, and I wonder if I'm losing myself in the tangle of these disjointed recollections. Sometimes it's as though I'm watching myself from outside a foggy window pane, an observer disconnected from her own thoughts, helpless to intervene. I've been searching for answers in every corner of Ravenswood, scouring the shelves of dusty libraries and crumbling scriptoriums, seeking any shred of knowledge that might explain what's happening to our town. And now, finally, I've stumbled upon something, a tattered old book hidden away in a forgotten alcove, its pages yellowed with age and its cover creaking beneath my touch like the dry skin of some long-dead creature. The symbol on the cover seems to shift and writhe like a living thing, drawing my hand towards it as if in morbid fascination. As I delve deeper into the dusty recesses of my childhood home, a musty scent wafts up, like the faint sigh of a long-forgotten secret. The air grows thick with an expectant hush, as if the very walls are holding their breath in anticipation of what's to come. My fingers brush against the spines of old books, and I run my thumb over the embossed cover of this one, feeling an inexplicable shiver traverse my spine. The title, etched in a language that sounds like a dying whisper, reads, "And quot Krajixaf, a treatise on Terrachaos and quot." I hesitate for a moment, as if uncertain whether to disturb the slumbering knowledge within. Yet, drawn by some morbid curiosity, I carefully pry open the cover, releasing a whispered sigh that seems to tremble through the pages like the first hesitant breath of winter. The text within is written in ink that appears almost alive, pulsating with a dark, earthy essence that makes my skin prickle. As I read on, the words begin to blur and shift, as if rearranging themselves into a new message. It's an arcane language, one that speaks of a ritual designed to banish Terrachaos, some ancient, primordial force, from the face of the earth. But at what cost? A cold dread seeps into my bones as I scan the pages, my eyes searching for any mention of the consequences, of the terrible price I may be forced to pay if I choose to unleash this thing upon the world. I stand before the ancient tome, my hands tracing the strange symbols etched into its cover. The weight of what's to come presses upon me, a morbid curiosity drawing me deeper. My eyes scan the room, ensuring I'm truly alone. The silence is oppressive, heavy with anticipation. I've prepared for this moment, studied the rituals and incantations that might just banish whatever darkness stirs beneath Ravenshire's edge. The air grows thick with an almost palpable sense of expectation, as if the very atmosphere is watching my every move. Every breath feels like a countdown, each passing moment drawing me closer to some terrible decision. My thoughts swirl with doubts and trepidation, yet I press on, driven by the need to reclaim what's been lost. The flickering candlelight dances across the walls, casting eerie silhouettes that seem to writhe and twist in the shadows. Time feels fluid now, each second stretching out like an eternity as I prepare to confront the unknown. With a deep breath, I raise my hands, the ritual incantation barely above a whisper on my lips. Terra, terra, abscindo. The words hang in the air, a fragile thread between me and the darkness that awaits. My voice drops to a hushed cadence, the syllables dissolving into the stillness like autumn leaves on a forgotten lake. The air is heavy with the weight of years, each word a tangible thread that binds me to this forsaken place. The silence, once a companion, now feels like a living entity, its presence suffocating yet alluring. I breathe in, and the scent of damp earth and moss rises up, a morbid perfume that intoxicates and repels. My skin tingles as the words take root, taking hold of me like branches on a wintering tree. The darkness stirs, a murmur of anticipation that vibrates through every cell in my body. I am no longer alone, yet I feel its gaze upon me, an unseen weight that presses against my very soul. The shadows writhe and twist around me, alive with a hunger that cannot be satiated. And then it steps into the light, its presence unfolding like a dark flower blooming in my mind. Its form is ancient, twisted, a grotesque parody of nature's beauty, the rusting husk of something long forgotten, its surface etched with the fine lines of centuries past. The realization seeps in, slow as honey poured into my veins. This thing has lain here, hidden and waiting, while I grew and forgot its presence. It is a sentinel, a guardian of secrets that I am doomed to keep. I feel it spreading, a slow tide of darkness seeping into my bones, like the first whispers of a winter's dawn. It is as if I've been hollowed out from me inside, leaving only an echoing chamber where once I thought I had a heart. The land itself seems to be taking hold of me, wrapping roots around my ankles and pulling me down, down, down into its secret depths. My skin crawls with the itch of dry earth. My fingers tremble with the need to feel the rough bark of ancient trees. I think of all the times I should have listened, all the warnings I ignored, and the slow realization dawns that I've been living in a dream world, one constructed from the whispers of the past. The wind stirs, rustling leaves like old fingers beckoning me deeper. My breath catches as I feel the weight of centuries settling upon me, the accumulated sorrow and the secret histories of this forsaken place. It is a slow, crushing weight that presses upon my chest, threatening to extinguish the fragile flame of my existence. I try to raise my arms, to push back against the tide, but it's as if my limbs have become part of the landscape itself, roots digging deeper into the earth with every breath. I'm submerged, weightless, as the world above dissolves into a warm haze. The pain recedes, replaced by an eerie stillness, as if time itself has been stilled. I try to recall my own voice, but it's not there, or if it is, I don't recognize its resonance. I feel the earth shifting beneath me, holding me down like an unseen hand. In this void, memories begin to seep into consciousness like sediment settling at the bottom of a stagnant pool. Fragments of childhood summers linger, laughter around the family BBQs, the scent of fresh-cut grass, and the taste of summer afternoons that never seemed to end. Yet, each recollection is tempered by an insidious disconnection. I'm not entirely certain what I'm remembering. The images feel distant, like snapshots from a life not my own. My thoughts stutter, caught in a perpetual loop of "but who am I?" The response always slips away just out of reach, leaving me grasping at the frayed edges of my identity. As the silence grows thicker, I begin to sense an absence, a presence that's both within and without me. It's as if the very landscape itself has become a maze of reflections, and I'm lost in its depths. As I struggle to recall my own thoughts, a faint glow of morning sunlight pierces through the cracks in the old vinyl booths, casting an eerie luminescence on the faces of those seated around me. The silence is oppressive, heavy with the weight of unseen conversations. Lucy's expression shifts from worry to something akin to resignation, her eyes filled with a deep-seated sorrow that cuts through my confusion like a knife. She speaks in a hushed tone, the words barely audible over the hiss of the refrigerator, yet still they cut through the din of my disorientation. "You're awake, Lucy," I whisper, my voice hoarse from the night's laborious awakening. The response is immediate, her hand reaching out to mine as if to steady a shipwrecked soul. Her touch sends shivers down my spine. Though not in fear, it's as if she's touching a stranger who still shares the same flesh and blood. "I'm so sorry," she whispers back, the words laced with an unspoken truth that hangs in the air like the scent of old books. I look around the diner, searching for answers to questions I no longer have the capacity to ask. The booths are empty, save for a lone figure seated at the counter, its face obscured by the shadows, yet radiating an aura of quiet foreboding. I stand frozen, my reflection staring back at me with an unsettling familiarity. The same features, the same eyes, yet something has shifted within me. It's as if I've been watching myself from afar, waiting for this moment of reckoning. The booths around me are now a labyrinth of twisting corridors, each one a doorway to another version of Ravenshire's Edge. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Every step I take echoes through the deserted halls like a warning. The lone figure at the counter has risen, its presence no longer veiled by shadows. Its face is deathly pale, yet radiates an otherworldly vitality. It's drawn to me, its eyes fixed upon my own, drawing me in with an unblinking stare. I feel myself being pulled towards it, as if my very soul is a thread being tugged from the fabric of reality. The darkness seems to coalesce around us, forming a living, breathing entity that pulses in time with our approaching footsteps. My thoughts are shrouded in a haze of confusion, memories long buried resurface like ripples on a stagnant pool, threatening to overwhelm me. Every notion I've ever held about myself is being stripped away, leaving me exposed and vulnerable. The figure draws closer, its breath whispering against my skin like a cold breeze on an autumn morning. My reflection smiles back at me, its eyes gleaming with a malevolent light that's both captivating and repulsive. In this moment, I know I'm no longer alone. The thing that was born from the earth has claimed me as its own. Thank you for listening. If this story found you in the dark, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new tale waits every night.